An Apache woman sat alone at the station until a rancher's daughter whispered, "Mama." She sat on the far end of the wooden bench, close to the old iron pole where the station sign leaned slightly to the left. The paint on the bench was chipped, and the wood underneath showed years of sun and rain. The Apache woman kept her hands folded in her lap, one resting over the other, as if holding herself together. A small cloth bag sat beside her feet. It was not new, but it was clean and carefully tied. Everything about her showed care, even though she had very little. The station was not busy, but it was never completely quiet. A few people waited for the afternoon bus, travelers, workers, and locals who had learned to be patient. Some talked softly, some stared at their phones. Others watched the road, hoping to see the bus appear sooner than expected. No one sat next to the woman. The empty space beside her felt wide, like an invisible line no one wanted to cross. She did not look angry or sad in an obvious way. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried depth, the kind that came from seeing much more life than most people around her. She watched the dust move when cars passed, felt the wind shift, and listened closely to every sound. Waiting was something she knew well. She had been waiting most of her life, sometimes for people, sometimes for answers, sometimes just for the strength to keep going. Her hair was braided neatly and tied with a simple string. She wore plain clothes, chosen for comfort rather than style. A light jacket rested on her shoulders even though the day was warm. It was old, but it mattered to her. It had traveled with her through many places, carrying memories she did not speak of. If someone had asked her where she was going, she might have struggled to explain. Not because she did not know the destination, but because the journey meant more than the stop. People noticed her, even if they pretended not to. A man standing near the ticket window glanced at her, then looked away quickly. A woman holding a bag pulled her child a little closer as they walked past. No words were exchanged. No direct looks held for long. The woman on the bench had learned not to react to such things. She had seen them too many times to feel surprised. Still, she felt the weight of being alone in a public place. The feeling was familiar, like an old ache that never fully left. She remembered other benches, other waiting areas, other times when she had sat quietly while the world moved around her. Back then, she had been younger, her heart heavier with fear and confusion. Now, the fear had softened into something steadier. She was tired, but she was still standing. The station clock ticked loudly, each second clear in the open air. She checked the time once, then stopped. Whether the bus came early or late did not change much for her. She was here because she needed to be, not because it was easy. Her journey had brought her back to this place after many years, though no one around her knew that. To them, she was just another stranger passing through. The ground beneath her boots felt solid. She pressed her heels into the dirt slightly, reminding herself that she was real, that she belonged somewhere in this world even if no one else saw it. Her fingers brushed the edge of the cloth bag. Inside were a few clothes, some papers folded carefully, and one small object wrapped in fabric. She did not take it out, but knowing it was there gave her comfort. The wind picked up, lifting dust and moving the leaves of the nearby trees. She closed her eyes for a moment and breathed in deeply. The smell of earth always calmed her. It reminded her of places where she once felt safe, of stories told by elders, of nights under open skies. Those memories lived quietly inside her, shaping who she was. A bus passed by on the opposite side of the road, not stopping. Some people sighed, others barely noticed. She opened her eyes again and watched it disappear. Her reflection appeared briefly in the glass of a nearby window, strong posture, calm face, eyes that had learned to endure. She did not look away. There was a time when she would have lowered her head, made herself smaller, tried to disappear. But she had learned that disappearing did not protect her. It only erased parts of her that deserved to be seen. So now she sat straight, even when alone, even when ignored. The station speaker crackled with an announcement about delays. People shifted their weight and checked their watches. A man complained quietly. Life continued in small, ordinary ways. For the woman, this ordinary moment carried great importance, though no one else could feel it. She was closer to something she had lost long ago, even if she did not yet know how close. Her thoughts drifted back to years before, to choices made under pressure, to moments when she had been given no good options. She did not excuse the past, but she understood it. Survival often required silence, distance, and strength that went unnoticed. She had paid a price for that strength, and she carried it with dignity. A bird landed near the bench, hopping lightly before flying away again. She followed it with her eyes and allowed a small, almost invisible smile to form. Small signs of life mattered to her. They always had. Footsteps approached, then passed. Laughter rose briefly, then faded. Still, no one sat beside her. The empty space remained. She wondered, not for the first time, how different things might have been if someone had sat down years ago, if someone had asked her story instead of turning away. But she did not let the thought grow heavy. Regret was a weight she had learned to set down when necessary. She adjusted the strap of her bag and looked toward the road again. The bus would come, or it wouldn't. Either way, she would remain steady. She had crossed harder distances than this. What mattered was not the waiting, but what the waiting meant. Somewhere not far from the station, a ranch stood under the same sky. Fields stretched wide, and fences marked land that had been worked for generations. The woman did not know it yet, but her path and that land were connected in ways deeper than location. The past had a way of circling back, even when people believed it was buried. For now, she remained where she was, an Apache woman sitting alone on a station bench, unseen by many, misunderstood by some, but carrying a truth that had not yet found its voice. The air felt charged, as if something unseen was moving closer. She sensed it, the way she always sensed change before it arrived. She did not know that soon a single word would break the quiet. She did not know that a small voice would cross the empty space beside her. She only knew that she had waited long enough, and that whatever came next, she would face it the same way she faced everything else, quietly, bravely, and without turning away. The ranch sat a few miles away from the station, spread wide under the open sky. Fences ran straight and long, dividing fields where cattle moved slowly and calmly. The house was simple but strong, built to last through wind, heat, and long seasons. It had been there for generations, passed down through hands that worked hard and expected little praise. Life on the ranch followed steady rhythms: early mornings, honest work, quiet evenings. Inside the house, the rancher's daughter moved from room to room with restless energy. She was still young, curious about everything, always asking questions that did not have easy answers. Her world was small in distance but large in imagination. She noticed details others missed: the sound of boots on the porch, the way dust rose behind trucks, the mood of the sky before a storm. That afternoon, her mother asked her to come along to town. They needed supplies, and the trip was routine. The girl liked riding into town. It felt like a small adventure, even though she had done it many times before. She sat by the window of the truck, watching the land pass by, her chin resting on her hand. As they slowed near the station, the girl's attention shifted. Something made her sit up straighter. She looked toward the bench near the sign and felt a strange pull in her chest. She saw the woman sitting alone, hands folded, eyes calm but distant. The girl did not know why, but she could not look away. Her mother parked the truck nearby. "Wait here a moment," she said gently. The girl nodded, but her eyes stayed fixed on the bench. She watched as people walked past the woman without stopping. She noticed the empty space beside her, the way the woman did not seem upset by it, yet did not belong to it either. The girl felt something she did not have words for. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It felt more like recognition, like seeing a familiar shape in a dream. She pressed her hand against the glass and leaned closer, as if that would help her understand. Her mother returned with a bag and climbed back into the truck. "You okay?" she asked, noticing the girl's silence. "Yes," the girl replied, though she was not sure what she meant. Her gaze followed the woman as the truck pulled away and parked farther down the road. Even as they walked toward the store, the girl glanced back again and again. Inside the store, her mind wandered. She listened but did not hear much. The shelves felt too bright, the sounds too loud. All she could think about was the woman on the bench. She wondered where she was going, why she looked so alone, and why her own heart felt tight when she thought of her. When they finished shopping, the girl asked, "Mama, who is that woman outside?" Her mother followed her gaze. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Just someone waiting for the bus." The answer felt incomplete to the girl. She nodded but did not argue. Still, something inside her whispered that the woman was more than just someone waiting. Back at the ranch, the girl could not settle. She tried to play, tried to read, but her thoughts kept drifting. That night at dinner, she barely touched her food. Her father noticed. "You're quiet today," he said gently. "I saw a woman at the station," the girl replied. "She looked lonely." Her parents exchanged a glance. "A lot of people pass through town," her mother said. "Not everyone stays." The girl nodded, but again, it did not feel like enough. After dinner, she went outside and sat on the steps, watching the sky darken. Stars appeared one by one. She hugged her knees and thought about the woman's eyes. They reminded her of something important, something she had forgotten but needed to remember. That night she dreamed of standing at the edge of a wide field. The wind moved through tall grass, and somewhere ahead, a figure waited. The girl tried to run but felt rooted to the ground. When she woke, her heart was beating fast. The next day she asked to go back into town. Her mother hesitated but agreed. "Just for a short time," she said. At the station, the girl looked around quickly. At first, she did not see the woman, and a wave of disappointment washed over her. Then she noticed her again, sitting in nearly the same place, still alone. Relief flooded her chest, though she did not understand why. The girl stayed close to her mother, but her steps slowed as they passed the bench. She turned her head slightly, stealing a glance. The woman looked up, their eyes meeting for a brief moment. The girl felt a shock like a spark. The woman's gaze softened as if she too felt something familiar. The girl's mother did not notice the exchange. She kept walking, focused on her errand. The girl hesitated, then followed, but her mind stayed behind. All day, the image of the woman stayed with her. The girl felt drawn, like an invisible thread connected them. She did not speak of it again, but her silence grew deeper. That evening, as the sun dipped low, the girl sat by herself and played with small stones in the dirt. She lined them up carefully, then rearranged them. Without realizing it, she formed the shape of a circle, leaving one stone apart. The image felt wrong. She moved the stone closer, completing the circle, and felt a sense of peace. She looked up and saw her grandmother watching from the porch. The older woman had lived long enough to recognize quiet signs. She came and sat beside the girl. "You've been thinking a lot," her grandmother said. The girl nodded. "I saw someone," she said simply. "Sometimes," her grandmother replied, "the heart knows things before the mind does." The girl considered this. "Is that okay?" Her grandmother smiled. "It's more than okay, it's important." The next morning the girl woke early. She told her mother she wanted to go to the station again. This time her voice was firm but calm. Her mother studied her face, seeing determination there she could not ignore. "All right," she said slowly. When they arrived, the girl stepped out of the truck before being told to wait. She walked toward the bench, her small steps steady. The woman was there just as before, hands folded, eyes scanning the road. The girl stopped a few feet away. She felt nervous now, but also sure. The woman looked up again, surprise flickering across her face. For a moment, neither spoke. The space between them felt full, heavy with something unspoken. The girl's heart beat fast. She did not know why this moment mattered so much, only that it did. Her mother called her name from behind, but the sound felt far away. The girl took one more step closer. She looked into the woman's eyes and felt a warmth spread through her chest. The word formed in her mind before she could stop it. It felt natural, like breathing. It felt true. She opened her mouth, not yet knowing that this single moment would change everything, that the quiet waiting of days and years was about to break. The air around them seemed to hold its breath, ready for what? Mama. It was not loud. It did not echo, but it landed between them with a weight that made the air feel different. For a moment, everything else disappeared, the noise of the road, the distant voices, even time itself. The small word hung there, fragile and powerful at once. The Apache woman froze. Her body went still, as if the world had suddenly turned to stone around her. Her hands, which had been folded calmly in her lap, tightened without her realizing it. Her eyes widened slightly, then filled with a confusion so deep it almost looked like pain. She had not heard that word spoken to her in many years, not directed at her, not in that way. The girl stood very still too. She did not smile. She did not laugh or look proud of herself. She simply looked up at the woman, her face open and serious, as if she had spoken a truth that needed no explanation. The woman's heart began to pound. At first, she thought she had imagined it, that her longing had finally played a cruel trick on her. She searched the girl's face, looking for signs of teasing or mistake, but there were none. The girl's eyes held certainty, not confusion. "I'm sorry," the woman said quietly, her voice barely steady. "What did you say?" The girl did not repeat the word right away. Instead, she took a small step closer. She felt nervous now, but she did not pull back. Something inside her told her not to. She had never felt this sure about anything before. "I said Mama," the girl said again, a little louder this time. "I don't know why. It just felt right." The woman's breath caught. Her chest tightened so suddenly she had to press a hand against it. Memories rushed forward without warning, images, sounds, feelings she had spent years trying to keep quiet. A small baby wrapped in a blanket. A promise whispered through tears. A goodbye that had never felt finished. Behind the girl, her mother had stopped walking. She turned when she realized her daughter was not following. She saw her standing in front of the woman on the bench and felt a quick wave of concern. "Sweetheart," she called gently, "come here." The girl did not move. Her mother walked closer, her steps cautious. "I'm sorry," she said to the woman, offering a polite smile. "She sometimes talks to strangers. I hope she didn't bother you." The woman shook her head slowly. She struggled to find her voice again. "No," she said, "she didn't bother me." The mother glanced down at her daughter. "What did you say to her?" The girl looked up at her mother, then back at the woman. "I said Mama." The word sounded different now, heavier, more complicated. Her mother laughed softly at first, unsure. "Oh," she said, trying to smooth the moment. "She's always been imaginative." But the woman did not smile. Her eyes had filled with tears she did not let fall. She looked at the girl again, studying her features, the shape of her eyes, the curve of her cheek, the way her brow furrowed slightly when she was thinking. These were not new shapes. They were echoes. "May I ask your name?" the woman said quietly to the girl. The girl told her. The sound of it sent another wave through the woman. It was not the name she remembered choosing long ago, but it carried the same softness, the same hope. The girl's mother felt something shift. The woman's reaction was not what she expected. There was no confusion, no awkward laughter, only a deep, trembling attention. "I think we should go," the mother said gently, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. The girl turned her head slightly, not pulling away but not stepping back either. "Can I stay for a minute?" she asked. "Please." Her mother hesitated. She looked at the woman again. Something in the woman's eyes stopped her from refusing right away. There was no threat there, only emotion held tightly in check. "All right," she said slowly. "Just for a moment." The girl sat down on the bench, leaving only a small space between herself and the woman. The empty space that had existed for days, maybe years, suddenly felt smaller. The woman shifted slightly, unsure of what to do with her hands. She rested them on her knees instead. "Why did you say that word?" she asked gently. The girl thought for a moment. "I don't know," she said honestly. "When I saw you, my chest felt warm and sad and safe, all at the same time." The woman closed her eyes briefly. A tear slipped free despite her effort to hold it back. She wiped it away quickly, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to cry." "It's okay," the girl said. "My grandma says crying doesn't always mean you're hurt. Sometimes it means you found something." The woman gave a small, shaky smile. "Your grandma sounds wise." "She is," the girl replied. Silence settled between them, but it was not uncomfortable. It felt full, like something growing. The mother watched closely now. Her instincts told her this was not a simple moment. She felt protective but also curious. "Where are you headed?" she asked the woman. "Nowhere special," the woman replied. "Just traveling." The answer was true and untrue at the same time. The girl reached into her pocket and pulled out a small stone she carried everywhere. She held it out. "You can have this," she said. "I give it to people I like." The woman accepted it carefully as if it were something fragile. "Thank you," she said. "I'll keep it." Their fingers brushed briefly. The woman felt a shock run through her, sharp and unmistakable. She pulled her hand back slowly, afraid of what she might feel if she held on too long. A bus could be heard in the distance now. The low rumble grew louder. People began to shift and gather their bags. "That's my bus," the woman said, though her voice lacked certainty. The girl's face fell. "You're leaving?" "Yes," the woman said. "I think so." The girl felt a sudden panic she did not understand. Her chest tightened and tears welled in her eyes. "Will I see you again?" The woman wanted to promise something, anything. But she had learned not to make promises she did not yet understand. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I'm glad I met you." The bus pulled in and came to a stop. Doors opened with a hiss. People began to board. The woman stood slowly, her legs unsteady. She looked down at the girl one last time. "What you said," she began, then stopped. "It matters." The girl nodded as if she had known that all along. As the woman stepped toward the bus, she paused. She turned back. "Take care of her," she said quietly to the mother. The mother met her gaze, something new in her eyes now. "I will," she said. "Always." The doors closed. The bus pulled away. The girl watched until it disappeared down the road. Her heart felt heavy and full at the same time. She did not cry. She felt too still for tears. Her mother knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" The girl nodded slowly. "I think so." But deep inside, both of them knew something important had happened. A word had been spoken that could not be taken back. A door had opened, even if no one yet knew where it led. Far down the road, the woman sat by the window of the bus, her hand closed around a small stone. Her reflection stared back at her, older, stronger, shaken. The past she had carried quietly had just looked at her and spoken her name in a new way. And nothing would ever feel quite the same again. The house felt quieter than usual that evening. The rancher's daughter sat at the kitchen table, her chin resting in her hands, her eyes fixed on nothing in particular. Her plate sat untouched in front of her. The sounds of the ranch drifted in through the open window, the soft lowing of cattle, the wind moving through tall grass, but none of it pulled her attention back. Her mother watched her closely while drying dishes. She had not stopped thinking about the scene at the station. The woman's face, the way her daughter had spoken that word so naturally, the heavy silence that followed, it all stayed with her. She had tried to brush it off at first, but something deep inside told her it wasn't something to ignore. "Do you want to eat?" she asked gently. The girl shook her head. "Not hungry." Her father entered the room, sensing the mood immediately. "Everything all right?" he asked. The mother exchanged a look with him. "Something happened today," she said. "At the station." The girl lifted her head slightly, listening. They sat down together and the mother explained what had happened. She described the woman, the bench, the word their daughter had spoken. The father listened quietly, his brows slowly tightening. "That's not like her," he said at last. "She doesn't just say things like that." "I know," the mother replied. "That's what worries me." The girl spoke up then, her voice small but steady. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Her father turned toward her. "You didn't," he said softly. "We just want to understand." "I can't explain it," the girl said. "When I saw her, it felt like she was already part of me." Silence filled the room again. The grandmother, who had been sitting quietly near the window, finally spoke. "Sometimes the past doesn't stay buried," she said. "Sometimes it waits." They all looked at her. "Waits for what?" the mother asked. "For the right moment," the grandmother replied. "For the right hearts." That night the girl dreamed again. She saw the woman walking across a wide field carrying a small bundle. The girl ran toward her, calling out, but the wind carried her voice away. When she woke, her pillow was damp with tears she did not remember crying. Across town, the Apache woman sat in a small room at a modest place where travelers stayed. She had not slept either. The stone rested on the table beside her, catching the light from the lamp. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the girl's face, heard the word again, Mama. She had spent years telling herself that part of her life was over, that what she had lost could never return. She had learned to survive by not looking back, but now the past had reached out and touched her gently but firmly. She took out the folded papers from her bag, old documents worn at the edges. She spread them across the table, her hands trembling slightly. Names, dates, places, proof of choices made long ago under pressure and fear. She remembered that time clearly now. She had been young, alone, and overwhelmed. Promises had been made to her that were not kept. She had been told it was the only way to protect her child, to give her a future she herself could not offer then. Letting go had nearly broken her, but she had believed it was an act of love. She pressed her hand to her chest and breathed slowly. "I did what I thought was right," she whispered into the quiet room. Morning came too soon. Back at the ranch, the mother could not shake her unease. After the girl left for school, she went to the storage room and pulled out an old box she had not opened in years. Inside were papers from when they had brought their daughter home. She had never questioned them before. She had trusted the process, trusted that everything had been done properly. Now, with careful hands, she began to read. Her heart began to race as she noticed details she had once overlooked, missing information, delays that had been explained away, notes written in vague language. By the time she finished, her hands were shaking. That afternoon, she drove into town and visited the small local office where records were kept. She asked questions calmly, politely, but firmly. At first, she was told everything was in order, but when she pressed further, when she showed what she had found, the tone shifted. Some files took time to locate, others were incomplete. Years had passed, and some people who had handled the process were no longer there, but not all answers were gone. By the end of the day, the mother sat alone in her truck, staring out at the road. Her chest felt tight. She loved her daughter deeply. That had never been in question, but love, she realized, did not erase truth. That evening she spoke with her husband. They talked long after the house had gone quiet. They spoke of fear, of uncertainty, of what it might mean to open doors that had been closed for so long. "We could lose her," he said quietly. "We could lose her trust if we don't," she replied. Meanwhile, the Apache woman returned to the station. She told herself she only wanted closure, that she would sit on the same bench, feel the same air, and then leave for good. But as she sat there, memories flowed freely now. She remembered holding her baby close, memorizing every detail of her tiny face. She remembered promising she would come back when she could. That promise had carried her through the hardest years. She did not know if the girl from the station was truly her child, but her heart told her there was a reason they had met, a reason that word had been spoken. A familiar truck pulled into the station lot. The woman looked up, her breath catching. The rancher's wife stepped out, walking slowly, carefully. She stopped a few feet away. "May I sit?" she asked. The woman nodded. They sat side by side, the empty space gone. "I've been thinking about what happened," the rancher's wife said, "and I have questions." "So do I," the woman replied. They spoke quietly, choosing words with care. They shared pieces of their stories, not accusations, not demands, just truth, slowly uncovered. Tears were shed, but no voices were raised. "I don't want to hurt my daughter," the rancher's wife said. "Neither do I," the woman replied. "I never have." They sat in silence after that, listening to the wind move through the trees. The station no longer felt like a place of waiting. It felt like a crossing. When the girl arrived later with her father, she ran toward the bench. She stopped short when she saw them sitting together. Her mother smiled gently and opened her arms. The girl stepped into them, safe and steady. The woman watched, her heart aching but hopeful. Nothing was settled. No answers were final, but something important had begun, not a breaking apart but a careful coming together. And for the first time in many years, all of them felt that truth, however difficult, might lead not to loss but to healing. The morning sun rose slowly over the ranch, spreading soft light across the fields. Dew rested on the grass and the air felt calm, almost expectant. The rancher's daughter stood by the window, watching the day begin. She felt different now, as if something inside her had shifted and settled into a new place. She did not fully understand what was happening, but she knew it mattered. Her mother entered the room quietly and sat beside her. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," the girl replied. After a pause, she asked, "Are we going to see her again?" Her mother did not answer right away. She looked out the window, then back at her daughter. "Yes," she said finally. "We are," the girl nodded, as if she had known the answer already. Later that day, the ranch truck rolled slowly toward the station. The road felt shorter than before, though the distance had not changed. The girl sat in the back seat, holding her hands together, her heart beating fast but steady. Her father drove. Her mother watched the road ahead, focused but calm. At the station, the Apache woman was already there. She stood near the bench instead of sitting, as if unsure whether she belonged there anymore. When she saw the truck, she felt a mix of hope and fear rise inside her. She had spent the night thinking, remembering, preparing herself for whatever might come. The girl stepped out first. She did not run this time. She walked with quiet confidence. When she reached the woman, she stopped and looked up. "Hello," she said. "Hello," the woman replied, her voice warm but careful. They stood facing each other, neither rushing the moment. The space between them felt different now, not empty, not heavy, but open. Her parents joined them. Words were exchanged slowly, respectfully. There were no demands, no sharp questions, just a shared understanding that this was not about choosing sides, but about honoring truth. They decided to talk somewhere quiet. The rancher invited the woman back to the ranch, not as a test or challenge, but as a gesture of trust. After a brief hesitation, the woman agreed. At the ranch, they sat together at the kitchen table. Sunlight filled the room. The grandmother joined them, her presence steady and reassuring. The girl sat between her mother and the woman, her feet swinging slightly above the floor. The woman told her story piece by piece. She spoke of her youth, of hard choices, of promises made when she had little power and fewer options. She spoke simply, without anger. She did not blame anyone. She only told the truth as she knew it. The parents listened closely. Some parts were difficult to hear. Others answered questions they had never thought to ask. When the woman finished, silence filled the room again. The mother reached across the table and placed her hand near the woman's, not touching, but close enough to show understanding. "Thank you for trusting us with this," she said. The woman nodded, her eyes shining. "Thank you for listening." The girl looked from one to the other. "Does this mean I can have two mothers?" she asked softly. The adults smiled through their tears. "It means," her father said gently, "that you are very loved." No decisions were rushed. They agreed to take time to move carefully to protect the girl's heart above all else. They talked about visits, about sharing stories, about letting the girl learn where she came from without taking away where she belonged. Over the weeks that followed, the woman returned often. Sometimes she stayed only a short while. Sometimes she stayed longer. She helped with small tasks, walked the land, listened more than she spoke. The girl followed her closely, asking questions, learning bits of language, bits of history, bits of herself. There were hard moments too, days when emotions felt too big, when tears came without warning. But those moments passed, carried by patience and care. One afternoon, they all returned to the station together. The bench stood just as it always had, worn and quiet. The girl climbed up and sat between the woman and her mother. The space that once held only silence now held hands, warmth, and shared breath. A bus arrived, then left. No one rushed toward it. The woman looked at the bench and smiled. "I waited here for a long time," she said. "I'm glad you did," the girl replied. As the sun lowered, they stood together, ready to go home. The station no longer felt like a place of endings. It felt like a beginning that had taken a long time to arrive. The past had not been erased. It had been understood. And in that understanding, a new kind of family had formed. One built not on loss, but on courage, honesty, and love that had never truly disappeared. The road ahead would not always be easy, but they would walk it together, one step at a time, no longer alone.